Hey everybody, so I thought I would do kind of a tidbit, I don't even know what to call it, on like harboring bad feelings or expressing your anger in a healthy way. Me and my husband were talking yesterday, and it just kind of dawned on me that this is something that at 35 years old I am finally starting to work on, and it is kind of really freeing as a person. I don't know if I learned this, you know, in childhood or whatever, but I have always like, when people say something offensive to me or my feelings get hurt in a situation, I never say anything. I just kind of swallow it, I swallow it. But you realize after time how detrimental that is to relationships and to yourself, because when you don't tell someone, you know, say they did something that really hurt your feelings or really offended you or really embarrassed you or whatever, and you don't tell them, number one, what ends up happening is all those little things start building up in your heart and in your mind, and then you either just lash out and blow up at some point, or you end up treating that person differently and badly, and they have no idea why. And I feel like I've been so guilty of this my whole life. A lot of times people do things or say things, or something will happen where my feelings get hurt, and you know, I'm really bad at hiding my emotions and my expressions, so a lot of times they'll be like, what's wrong? And I'm like, oh, nothing. But you end up treating that person badly or differently, and they have no clue why. And it really isn't fair to that person. And I just realized over time that if I love that person, especially if I love that person and that relationship is important to me, but I do them a service and I do myself a service by letting them know that, you know, something hurt me or something, you know, wasn't right, or I felt like they shouldn't have done this. Now, this doesn't mean you like, you know, harp on them and you like nag people, or you're always like bleh, bleh, bleh. But you guys know what I'm talking about when there's situations where someone says something or someone does something, you know, and it's not something that you can just let go of, and maybe the next time you see them you still feel hurt, or you still feel mad at them, or you still feel, you know, whatever. I really feel like it is so important to tell them in a loving way that they did or said something that hurt you, especially, like I said, if it's one of those relationships that's very important to you. You have to do it, because if you're like me and you keep it in, eventually you end up blowing up about something that's totally unrelated, totally not that big of a deal, but it was all those little things that built up, you know, and then it kind of came out at the wrong time. So like I said, this is something that I've been really working on, even just in the past year. A lot of times I feel like in the moment I'll be like flabbergasted at something someone will say or whatever, so it's really hard to react and say something in that moment. But I have tried to go back, you know, in a couple hours or, you know, the next day, and just say, hey, you know what, this and this really hurt my feelings, or, you know, when you came at me like that, this and this and this. And number one, if that person loves you and that person cares about your relationship, I can guarantee you almost 100% of the time they did not mean it the way that you took it, or they meant to say something in love and it just came out the wrong way. You guys, we're all human. We all make mistakes. You make mistakes, I make mistakes. I say things all the time that probably comes out different than the way that I mean for it to come out. Or, you know, everyone has different past experiences. So even though you mean something to come out a certain way, people are going to receive it differently because of their past experiences. So even if it is well intended, they might receive it in a different way. And I have learned this even with my husband, that so many times something that he says innocently or whatever, not realizing that I have a deep-rooted hurt from my past or whatever, that it's going to affect me differently. And he's not going to know that unless I tell him. Unless I tell him that it hurts me, or that bothers me because so and so and so, he's not going to know not to say those things to me. Do you know what I mean? And it could be something totally small, or it can be something totally big. But I've realized that even with my friends, instead of just swallowing it and just being like, don't make, because I feel like in my mind a lot of times I say, just don't make a big deal about it. Just let it go or whatever. The problem is I have a hard time letting it go. And for my friend, if she or he doesn't know that that hurt me, they're probably going to say it again without knowing that it's hurting you. So it really helps your relationship. It helps you as a person. It helps them as a person too, because what if they are doing the same thing to a bunch of other people and nobody ever tells them? They have no idea that they're hurting other people's feelings. Or if they have a hard time receiving things, if they hear it from you, but they also hear it from maybe 1 or 2 other people, they're gonna say, okay, maybe I need to change this because I have heard a couple of times that blah, 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 blah. So with that said, I would just really say, you know, be honest with your feelings. Don't harbor anger or bitterness or hurt, because I promise you, those people that love you, if you tell them, they are almost always gonna say, I am so sorry. That is not what I meant at all. I meant it out of love, or, you know, or maybe I shouldn't have said that. You're right. I shouldn't have said that, or this is what I meant by that. And give them a chance to explain, because I feel like a lot of times we just assume things, or we just receive things and not allow them to expand on it or apologize or whatever, and it really hurts relationships. But you spend all those days being hurt and angry too, and that's not healthy for you either. So I don't know what to call this. Hopefully that struck a chord with some of you guys out there. This is something that I have just been working on personally. So I thought I would share it with you guys. I hope you guys are all doing really well. I hope you guys are enjoying your summers off, and as school starts up, and if you guys are going to work or whatever, you find those relationships that are so important to you, that you learn, you grow, you know, you can be honest with each other, and even if it's hard, that you can grow with them. So anyways, I hope that was helpful to you guys, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.